Washington Capitals fans, welcome. You guys had a pretty phenomenal season this past year, so I don't know how much you care about your prospects, but you should because there's some good ones in here, so let's get into it. Starting things off at the core level, we're going to go with just the one guy who's here, Lyndon Lakovich. I love this guy. I think Lyndon Lakovich is the best. Incredibly good skill, incredibly good finishing ability, really smart playmaker, did a tremendous job on a team that did not have much to give him. A guy who I definitely think needs to up the physical game a little bit, especially considering his natural abilities. I think that would really unlock a lot of potential in his game, but at the end of the day, I still love the combination of skill and length and size and skating ability, puck protection, dual threat offensive playmaking. Like, he brings a little bit of everything, and I love that about him. So, do think he could be a top 6 NHL scorer. Maybe not the guy you depend on all over the ice and you never ever want to trade, but I think he could be an extremely valuable first round pickup for this team that went way too late in this year's draft. In the depth category, you just have a lot of really fun players. Honestly, leading the way for me, Andrew Cristall. He, to me, does ride the line of being a maybe, but he is just absurd and better than the players that are in the maybes category for me. It's just going to be a matter of playing his style of play and putting up production in the NHL. He is a small player that has small player problems. He's not an elite skater. He doesn't have that elite breakaway speed. He doesn't have that ability to resist pressure as well as you would like. He's a player that needs to read what's going on in front of him and adapt to it in advance and make some sort of extended possession play to make something happen. When he does, it's incredible to watch, and he's one of the most creative players out there that you might be able to find. I just feel like he's a boom or bust guy, but one that is so high upside that he belongs in here. I could very easily see being one of these guys that NHL teams look over multiple times, but every time he gets a job, he scores 40, 50 points, and you don't pay him very much to do that for you. I'm thinking a Tyler Ennis type of player because the skill and the creativity is that good in his game. I will be watching him this year like a hawk because I will be fascinated to see how his style of play translates to the pro level. Could he be nothing? I think that's possible. Is he going to be awesome? I think that's also very possible. You've also got Ryan Leonard on the table here. Now, I don't have Ryan Leonard in the core category. I think if you went and watched him play in the NHL, I think you saw some of the issues that I see in his game. He's a very individualistic player. Give me the puck and I'll do what I can. I'll power through guys with the puck on my stick. I'll charge through guys to get to the puck. And at the NHL level, being able to do that might take some time. And I do think that he will need a good supporting cast around him to sort of round out the holes in his game. But I still have him in the depth category. He's an NHL player. I just feel like he's a second line checking guy, third line guy who you can put on a power play and you can hammer hockey pucks. He does have an excellent shot. He goes to the net. He plays the game the right way, the way you want a guy like him to play. It's just going to be a matter of shift in, shift out, driving good results in the NHL, and I'm not sure he's as projectable as a guy like Lakovich to be in your top 6 and super important there, but a very good middle 6 physical player with a goal scoring ability, yeah. Ivan Miroshnichenko is in here. He had a really good year in the AHL this season. I'm hopeful that he can find a job in the NHL and stick there for a while. He's a really fun player who's been through a lot in his career, and I do think that there is enough skill and offensive upside to become something. Milton Yastrin is also in here. They just landed him in the 2025 draft. Absurd individual talent again. Just a guy who, give me the puck, I will go up the ice with it, and I will do something. It's a bit of a simplistic game, and that's kind of why I had him a little bit lower, but I do think that over time, the talent is worth betting on, and there might be a bit of a middle 6 playmaker here. Maybe a third line center if you want a more offensive leaning third line. An intriguing player with a lot of potential and a lot of talent. Just putting it all together and rounding out his game a little bit is going to be very important. And in here as well, I've got Cole Hudson. I honestly was blown away with Cole Hudson's game this summer. I love Cole Hudson. He's going to play in the NHL. I just feel like his defensive play is a hole still. His off-puck play is definitely something people don't really notice as much because of how good he is with the puck, but I do think that that's part of the issue here for him that might hold him back in the NHL, but at the end of the day, he blew me away this season. Much better than I thought he would be, so he got an upgrade from the maybes category this season. Another guy that got an upgrade into this category is Ilya Protas. I don't know what the heck happened, but this guy exploded and became a 50-goal OHL scorer. It's weird, but he's one of these guys who last year I watched and I went, huh, this guy's kind of neat. There's a lot of interesting stuff here. I kind of like this guy. But then this happens, and I go, well, I don't know where this came from. I mean, I thought he was interesting, but holy smokes. I think that this is a bottom 6 NHL player. I think he's just a guy who is big enough, physical enough, skilled enough, and has enough pace in his game to do something in the NHL. I was really surprised with how good he was this past season. I thought the growth in his game 2 years ago was really, really big then. He just seems to be on an upward trajectory, and we'll see where it ends, but at the very least I see him being something down your lineup somewhere, because there's just a lot to dig into in his game. In the maybes category, there's some interesting ones in here. Eric Smitejko may very well be a bottom 6 NHL guy that has some good net front ability, really projectable player, but not a guy that I'm really thinking is gonna hugely move the needle at all situations in the NHL, but could be a useful player, maybe a net front guy on your power play perhaps. Then there's also Cam Allen in here. He had a really good year with London. Again, I still think that there's a bit of a risk here in terms of his offensive abilities being enough to mask the defensive issues there in his game. A really big step forward, and he had a really good season this year, especially since being traded to London. I've got Leon Mugli in here as well. I was never blown away with him, but I do think that the offensive skill might be enough to see something there. I really love Aaron Dahlqvist. The skating ability, the ability to throw hits, the ability to get around the ice really effectively. It's all just solid. So I've liked him, and I feel like the offensive game, you need to work on it, but I feel like at the end of the day, you might end up with something in Dahlqvist. Maxim Schaefer's a really interesting pickup out of Germany, a nice physical forward that maybe I could see a depth role in one day. And Tarek Parasak, I mean, I was stunned when they drafted him as high as they did. I think that he is a potential NHL player, but he's going to need the right surroundings, the right role to make it work. I just don't know if he individually will do it on his own, but there is an interesting playmaker here who keeps his game simple and effective but creative, and so far very, very productive. I just don't know if it's NHL level productive, and I'm not sure his floor is a bottom 6 NHL player. I also have both of their goaltenders in here, Antoine Keller and Nicholas Kempf. I will stand Antoine Keller's probable long-term backup on the French national team, Martin Necas. Antoine Keller's no slouch either. I've really liked him. He had a pretty good season in one of the toughest European leagues this year. He held his own. He wasn't amazing, but he was solid considering his workload. Nick Kempf, I thought, had an interesting, okay rookie season with Notre Dame. They weren't amazing this year. He faced a lot of shots every game, but when you dig a little deeper, his numbers weren't amazing this year, but it was his first year, so you gotta give him some time to get used to it. Maybe the team getting better in front of him will help. Some solid options. Rounding things out, you have everybody else, and there are some interesting players in here that really ride the line of being maybes. I'd say Ryan Chesley is one of those players. At his best potential, I would say Miroslav Shatan Jr. is in there as well. Brent Johnson, I thought looked pretty good with Ohio State this year, but it might be too little too late, honestly, for a guy like him. I would still probably bring him onto an AHL camp or something, because I still see the skating ability, the skill level that is really apparent in his game, and I've really liked him with Ohio State whenever I've caught them, but it just hasn't come together entirely, especially in his own end. It may very well be that he just had the best hockey season of his life when he was 17, because since then, it just hasn't quite been the same. Maybe a bit of a miss on my part, really valuing Brent Johnson when he was a draft eligible, but hey, everybody makes mistakes, right? There's just a lot of guys here. Honestly, not a whole lot of guys that I think will break the NHL mold. Maybe Ryan Chesley as a bottom pairing depth role guy who is okay at a lot of things and has a bit of offensive output, but I'm not really counting on that, honestly, with him. And there's a lot of other players similar to him that are, I think, further along in the depth chart here anyway. But for the Washington Capitals, I can't really fault them for how good they were in this past season, and some of these players that they've drafted in the middle rounds have really come along really, really well. So I'm giving Washington a 1C. I think overall, they have a lot to play around with over the next few years. I don't think all of these players will make the NHL by any stretch, really. There's just only so many jobs players can have, but they have a lot of guys that I could see filling a variety of jobs, at least in terms of let's find something that works for you to get you in the NHL and stay there type players. I could see those guys existing here as well. I really love Lyndon Lakovich. I really believe in Andrew Crystal, but this year will be a very interesting one to watch. Ryan Leonard, Ivan Miroshnichenko, maybe even guys like Ilya Protas and Cole Hudson in a year or two may very well be on the Washington Capitals roster and looking pretty solid doing it. So I think there's a lot to play around with here. This is a team that also plays a really smart, tactical brand of hockey, and I think they have a a lot of guys that kind of fit that mold as well. So I'm excited about where they go. So far in this video series, they're the ones that I've been the most excited about relative to where they've been in the NHL and how much they've drafted and where they've drafted, because I think they've extracted some really, really good value out of some of these picks. And with that, we're going to call it. If you liked the video, definitely like and subscribe. If you really liked it, definitely consider a subscription over at Scouching.ca, where you can get access to all kinds of fun data tools and our Discord server and plenty of other fun stuff that you're just not going to find anywhere else on the internet. So check that out at Scouching.ca. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.